Okay, so I did once play with one of these in about 1983, and I think we got 5 miles on it. Now we did that other German set, and I've got one of them here because I own two of them. We did the Kaiser CB27 last year, and it says on the box 4 watts, and then we discovered it has a half watt output transistor, or was it a 2 watt output transistor? Whatever it was, it certainly was nothing like what the box said. And I haven't got a box for one of these, but it says quite clearly on the front 3 channels, 2 watts. But then you open the instruction book, transmitter RF output 500 milliwatts. So is that effective radiated power? What's that? The audio chip? Does every German product tell you stories about the power? I don't know. Disappointing. So these are made by Hong Kong. They are a German design. There is a CPT version of these because it's just crystal controlled, and of course there is an older version pre this, which is exactly the same for the German internal market. For the European market, they do have a nice telescopic aerial, and I think it's as long as the realistics, to be honest. So that's its plus point. This one's had drop damage and it's lost the bottom of the case. That isn't going to affect it in any way. It's a 12 volt radio, and it has a charger socket with a 2.5mm jack, just like the Alba Harvard 410 and the Harrier WT2. So if we look at the circuit diagram, which just happens to be in the instruction book, and last time round I had the sensor photocopying the instruction book. So the charger goes straight to the battery and also to the radio. So that switch might disconnect it. You may not be able to run the set from the charger. So we've got that to find out. It also it's not clear what the polarity is, though it looks like the outer ring goes to negative, so it looks like it is positive center. So if I connect a power 2.5mm jack to a 12 volt power supply, which I can assure you is current limited, and we'll see what happens. I've got the power supply set for about 30 milliamps, so if there is a short, it should be okay. So that's the positive of the battery, that's the negative, and as you can see we've got more or less 12 volts there. So switch it on, and nothing happens. So that could be that it is charger only, or it could be, of course, that there's a malfunction. It could be that there's nothing we can do with the set because it's so badly broken inside, but there you are. So it's going to be, we know it's a crystal controlled set. So I'll take that off. It's channel 7, 14 and 19. So 7, that's fair enough. I mean, it's a fair enough set of channels, that. So that's what's inside, and your 6 crystals are there, 3 transmit and 3 receive. So chances are there isn't an earphone socket. We're going to have to take the board out to see what's happening. How do we do that? So there's a screw just under the squelch. Now they did a 40 channel half watt set, and I think we tested one last year branded as one of the mail order catalogues. It'll come to me. Not Murphy, that was Great Universal. It'll come to me. Might not come to me while I'm doing this video. Does that look like the right screw? No. Ah, I see it now. We'll put that back because it probably holds the volume control to the chassis. Something's stopping it coming out. It's a channel switch. So I can't see any crack on the printed circuit board. You see it's had an ingress of moisture, which has caused some corrosion to where the aerial is fitted. Well, we'll just check that for continuity, but it may be fine. So you have an output transistor which certainly looks capable of 2 watts. And because you don't have an extension speaker start again, because you don't have an extension aerial socket, we're going to have to, yeah, there's a test part. I was going to say we're going to have to take out the loading coil, but there is a test point there. And that is on the input side of the loading coil. So that is the test point to do the tests. So that's better than nothing. I thought for a moment we were going to have to take out the loading coil, which would be a pain. So why haven't we got power? It may well be just a charge socket. So get that connected. We've got 2 lots of power reading there, so it looks like it should have power. So it goes to the Ein and Aus switch because it says so, and it is positive to that switch. Negative. I think we'll take this switch knob off, and then we can get to those contacts. So we'll use the that as a negative. So very interesting. We've got nothing on the on and off switch. So put this back together and we'll go and get our power supply crocodile clip leads, which I know is in the other room. So if I'd done that in the first place, we would have had an easier job. So unlike the Harvard, Harrier and Alba, it is a charge only socket, but there's no internal charger circuit in the radio, so whatever charger you plug into it has to have all the electronics to do the charging and the current limiting. So in its simplest form, that would be a transformer capable of only doing about 50 milliamps at probably about 18 volts. And it stops you from applying that higher voltage, which you need to charge, to the radio, which those Alba, Harvard, etc. don't, which means you could put in the charger and switch the radio on and you're applying a higher voltage. Right. Well, I think the easiest thing for us to do is to tune this up on 19. On the other hand, we should be tuning it up on 14, which is the centre of this radio's band. That was a quick change of idea. Now I've just been doing that Midland, so I've still got the destruction book on here, and hopefully we've got a channel chart. So channel 14 is 2773125. Okay, so we've got a lousy bit of receive and a lousy bit of transmit. So on the 3-watt range, which is just make sure we're on picture in picture, we are. On the 3-watt range we've got 100. We've got 25 milliwatts. Well, that doesn't sound right, does it? And we've got lousy receive, and that's as if, you know, as if the aerial's not connected right, but the aerial is connected right. That's better. So it's a bit dodgy just there. So 400. Let's just look at this again. 3, that would be 1 watt. That's 500 milliwatts. So it's just doing about 380 milliwatts at the moment. So it's half a watt, isn't it? Just like the inside of the book says when you bought the thing. So looking at transmit, we've got the crystals. There's no trimmer for the individual crystals, but there is a trimmer there with L9. I suspect that will alter the frequency for transmit. So at the moment we're quite accurate, but I'll show you that in a moment. So L10, L11, L13, 14, 15, and it shows you've got the test point just there, which is what we're on. So that was thought out well, so I'll give them credit for that. So back to what we need to be doing is adjusting L10 and L11 for maximum output. And we can actually see this layout for once, or is it mirror image like they often are? Yeah, it's mirror image. So 10 and 11 is 10 and 11. No, 10 and that's 10 and 11. Yeah, that's because that's 9, 10, 11. So key up. That's not wanting to move with that tool. So we'll skip that for now, move on to 11. That's previously been broken. And we are at maximum. So the PA ones. So maximum brings us up to about 490 milliwatts. Brings us to 500 milliwatts. Let's run through those again. So it is doing 500 milliwatts, and I'm running it at 12.4 volts. We'll just look into that. If I can find the metal trimming tool, it's there hiding. So if I now show you the frequency, we should have 27.73125 and it's 10789. So that's really pretty accurate for something which has no individual crystal trimmer. Now I have already said I suspect L9 to adjust the frequency, but for all three channels. So it's a matter of taking an average. So let's see what happens if I'm right and this changes the frequency L9. So L9, I think we already came across it, didn't we? Yeah, it's the one there. Yeah, I'm right. Makes a change, you'll say. So that's pretty well close on. So let's look at the other channels. So channel 7, so it should be 66125. So it's a bit low, but it's within acceptable limits. So I'm glad we pulled up 14, and channel 19, 78125 it should be, and it's a slightly high. So yeah, we've taken a good average there. So they're all within acceptable limits. So we'll do our test on channel 14 because there won't be anybody on, unless we have to go to channel 7. So we're doing 500 milliwatts. Go back to that on channel 14. Sorry, that was 19. 500 on channel 14 and 500 on channel 7. So that's pretty well balanced. So I'm pleased about that. So let's look back at the circuit diagram. There's going to be deviation somewhere. And it's going to be this, because you've got a vari-cap across the crystals. That's going to drive it, and it looks like the microphone is actually the speaker used twice. Not ideal, but there we go. So resistor 43 is going to be the preset for that. It's probably the only preset in here. So that figures with what I was thinking. I like the Telefunken chip here. Okay, so we'll get our little oscillator out. Turn the volume down. Press transmit. What channel am I on? So it's a bit a bit low at 2. And that's at full. Oops. Why isn't it going into transmit? You can make it do 2.5, and there's a cold tone which I forgot about. Okay, so yeah, we're all right there. Like a lot of these, it's designed to be talking really closely into. So we've got a good ½ watt out of it. We've got the deviation, and it's on frequency. Now, this is going to be fun with receive. Where's my circuit diagram gone? Underneath. It's like a pantomime. Behind you! So our receive crystals are here. And it doesn't look like there's anything to adjust the frequency. We're going to check L3, 4. That looks like 6. Yeah, because that's 5. 3, 4 and 6 for the front end. There are IF. So 3, 4 and 6. So 3, which is there, 4, which is there, and 6, which is there. So it's those 3 is going to be our receive. First of all, we need to get the synod meter onto that speaker, and hopefully I can just hold this on. Normally we start with the detector. The detector is going to be those 2. I don't know whether we can on this. It might be a different technique. I think it is a bit different technique. Take the bench light off just so we can see the oscilloscope in case I'm totally wrong. want an S9 signal, which is now on. Enough volume to see the waveform. So that's now not on an angle. So that's the detector, what's going to be as near to the detector as possible. That'll be IF. So we'll go through those three. We'll look at the cyanide meter. And we'll take a reading right now as to what we're getting. And right now we are getting 15 microvolts. How lousy is that? But it will here down to 10 microvolts. No improvement. We'll just check that IF one. We'll just check these with a bigger signal. Now a smaller signal. So what will it hear? It'll actually hear 2 microvolts. And our best cyanide is now 9 microvolts for 12 decibels. So it's pretty crummy. So next question is it on frequency? So all we can do here, I've got a sneaking suspicion that other coil, which is there, could be frequency. So we're going to need to set up our little Chinese signal generator as a marker oscillator. So it's going to be a single IF. I'm going to just check that I'm right. Yeah, a single IF of 455. So I'm going to take the tone off the signal generator. And now we want to put 455 into here. So I don't think we've got this in the memory. looks right. We want a bit of an aerial into here to wave around. We've got a customer's realistic 1012, which I don't think is going to be repaired because it's not repairable. I think we'll borrow his aerial. And can we hear that beat note? Let's turn the volume up. And if I adjust that coil, it's worse, not better. It's as near as we can get on frequency. I'll just check the signal generator. I'll just tell you where it is. So it's doing 27.73168. So it's slightly out, but it's within tolerance. So that's as high as I can get it. See, in commercial equipment, you would have a trimmer capacitor for each of those crystals. There we are. So we can just hear 1 microvolt. Can you hear that? Take the tone off, back on. That's 1 microvolt. So don't go rushing out buying one of these. So what kind of range are we going to expect on 1/2 watt? To be honest, we'll probably get a mile on it. Might even get a 1.5 miles. I think we're going to get to the top of the hill, but we won't be getting to Scratchy Corner. We'll see what it sounds like at the top of the hill. There were some lousy sets out, weren't there, back in 1981, but you know, what were these, $49.99? So that's it. I think we've covered everything. We'll put it back together. Okay, so there we are, put back together. So we've got, we never checked the squelch, did we? Well, I've turned the test instrument off now, but I'll tell you what we're going to do. We'll turn my Capo Panther on. We'll put it on channel 14. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Now with the squelch on. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. So the squelch does work. So it's doing 1/2 watt. It's doing less receive than it reckons to do, but it does less transmit than it reckons to do. It says 2 watts. There's no way it does 2 watts, so that's absolute bull. And I've found this now with the that other one I mentioned, the Kaiser. You know, it's just so disappointing that the ones which Germany seem to be behind all lie on what they do. Because what all that does is it generates sales today, but it doesn't generate sales tomorrow, does it? Because you know what happens is you buy something and you're really satisfied with it, and so you tell your pals, you say, my goodness, look at this I bought, it's absolutely super duper. And if you buy a product which does 1/4 of what it says, you don't bother telling your pals, and they don't get all those sales, do they? So yeah, sales today but not tomorrow. So ours is a bit of a tired set. but that doesn't make any difference to the way it performs. There's nothing faulty about it. It's just cheap, cheerful and pretty lousy. So we'll be doing a field test with that. We can't do an on-the-air test because it's got no aerial socket. So if you've never seen the DNT HF12 stroke 3 from 1981, which was $49.99 at the time for your 3 channels at half a watt, forget the... Perhaps it was supposed to be 1 stroke 2 watt. That's more to the point. And you know, I hope that's not... they didn't make 2,440 of them from the serial number. Thanks for watching.